Hi guys! So today we're going to be doing a landscape painting. I've got my pencil and my rubber to start with, and then I've got a selection of paintbrushes as well. So I've got two sort of square shaped ones, and then I've got two pointed ones. Different sizes of course. I've got my palette for mixing my paints and putting my paints onto. And then I've got all my paints on the side there. Now, I would like to apologise, the video is actually flipped. I'm not actually left-handed, I'm right-handed. But that shouldn't be a problem. So we're going to start off with the sketch first of all. Just want to block in the basic details. So I start off by plotting my horizon line. And then the hill. And lastly, in the photo that I'm looking at, I've got a Cornish mine in the background, so I'm just going to draw that in too. So now take your palette, and I'm going to put little droplets of paint in there. I've also got to poke open my paints because I've not used them yet. So the paints I'm using are just acrylic paints, and these ones you can get quite cheaply. So I'm not getting a bit of every colour here, I'm only using the colours that I think I will use in my painting. So I've got some blues and the green for the sea, some browns for the headland, and some yellows to mix in with the greens and the browns. Also going to use a big dollop of white and a small speck of black. You never need that much black in a painting. So with my palette all finished, I'm going to paint the sky first. So the sky in my painting is very, very bright blue. So, some facts about the Cornish coastline. It's over 400 miles long. Now what I'm going to do is add in a strip of white along the bottom of the sky, because it tends to get lighter where the horizon is. And then just blend that together with the blue that I've already got. Now for some clouds. So I get quite a bit of white paint on the very tip of my brush, dab it along, and then blend it in. So now we're doing the sea. I mix together my bright blue and then a little bit of my dark blue as well. And I want to make sure that I've got quite a bit of this mixed, because the sea is quite a big bit on my painting. And yes, I also added in a little bit of green there, because the sea isn't just blue. It has got a bit of green in it as well. So does anyone know how a beach is formed? So it's formed by the build-up of small pieces of rock that chip off. They fall down into the sea and then get shoved around and broken down by the waves into small pebbles and sand. So then this sand is moved around the coast by the sea and is eventually just dropped off somewhere around the coast, and as more and more of it gets dropped off, it forms a beach. So I've just blocked in my sea, and now I'm just going to move on to blend the sky and the sea together. Like we did with the sky, I'm going to add a white layer just above the horizon line, and then blend it into the sky and the sea. So does anyone know what it's called when the sea, the very strong sea, knocks pieces of rock off of the headland and the cliffs? When it wears it away. So it's called erosion. I'm just going to wash my brush, and then what I'm going to do here is blend together the two colours that I've just popped down so that the horizon line blends in with the skyline. But that's why I wash my brush. You want to make sure that there's no paint or water or anything on your brush when you do this. There we go. So now it's time for the waves. I'm going to get quite a light colour of this sea colour and do exactly like I did with the clouds, using the very, very tip of my brush. I'm going to start with a light colour first, and then you'll see that I go on to a darker colour here. And usually with the darker colour, I put it under the line of the light colours to make it look like a bit of shading. So that's the waves finished. My picture has some white horses that are just below the cliffs, which is where you can see the waves breaking. So I'm just going to add those in. And I'm also going to add a few little white horses onto the actual sea as well. If you wanted to add a bit of texture into the clouds, you can always use this little brush here and do exactly like I'm doing. Just makes the clouds look a bit fluffier. Right, so I'm going to take my big brush and it's time to paint the headland. So I'm going to mix my two browns together. I'm going to start off with that as a base layer. And if you think a colour looks too dark, feel free to add more white in. That's why we got a lot of white. So like I was saying before about erosion and the waves chipping off big bits of headland and then it forming into the sand, this erosion causes things like headlands and cliffs to be built too. So when you see bits of headland or cliffs sticking out around the coastline of Cornwall, you know that that's because of erosion. So now I'm going to start by adding the detail into the headland. So I'm going to take a darker colour than I used for the headland first and dot it around so that it looks a bit like bushes. And then I'm going to do the same but with a green colour instead. Because what colour are bushes usually? You got it, green. These bushes are sort of in the shape of the clouds that we've just been drawing as well. So now an important thing to remember whilst painting is usually we work from dark to light. It's all about that layering. My colours that I use get gradually lighter, and that adds some more depth and some shading and some light to our painting. I do also add in some little leaves with a bit of a darker brush, just for a bit of effect. Now we're moving on to the mine. So does anyone know what type of ore the miners used to get from the mines? I'll give you a clue. It's not gold. So it's tin. Miners used to get tin from the Cornish mines. So with our block colour finished, we're going to start by adding our lighting first this time. We want to make sure we know where our sun is in our painting. So mine is on the right hand side. So I'm going to paint my light only where I think the light would hit my tin mine. And what I'm painting in here is all the little tiny bricks. Don't have to be accurate, but we know that there's lots and lots of bricks that are in a mine. So just add lots of tiny little specks. Now I know that this left-hand side of the chimney is going to be darker because it's facing away from the sun. So I add in a strip of dark along the left-hand side, and then make sure that I paint that wall on the left of the chimney dark because it's not seeing any sun. Now we add in our windows. I think there's 3 windows on mine. So usually when you think of miners, you usually think of a lot of men and boys doing the mining. But actually, a lot of girls and women did their part. They were known as bowel maidens, and they would help to separate the tin from any other substance that was taken from the mines. Now, I'm just going through and adding in some more little details with a light brown sort of colour. Just places where there might be little flowers, or the light might hit some leaves in a certain way. But I'm using the very tip of my small brush for this one, because they're very fine little details. And you don't have to look at your reference for this, because it's just guesswork. Just guess where you think the light will hit certain things. Doesn't have to be perfect. And now for the final touch. Never forget, always sign a painting. Find a little space where there's not a lot going on and pop your signature on there. As you can see, mine is flipped. Oops. But there we are. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to see your creations, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!